Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Real Science with Chris Neal. I am back for another Geek Out episode. This one, I'm going to dive in pretty deep and I might offend some people, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm giving you guys just a little preview into how my brain works. So this video is all about hitting that bullseye. And a lot of people say that this is actually impossible, like coaches, trainers, bodybuilders, fitness specialists. Medical professionals will tell you that it is impossible to gain muscle, building nice lean muscle and burning fat at the same time. They just say it can't be done, and don't even try. And so that's the reason why it's so common to see people that are going through a bulking phase and then a cutting phase. We've even made it a part of our seasonal calendar, during the fall and the winter time. Well, that's bulking season, in springtime when everybody wants to get ready for summer and getting back to the beach, then that's cutting season. So that I just want to blow all of that up really and tell you I'm here to prove and tell you that there is a bullseye where you can do both. You can burn fat and you can build nice lean muscle at the same time. It just so happens to be a finer bullseye. So just because it's a smaller bullseye doesn't mean it can't be hit. So there is a science behind it. There is a way to get that done, and it is all completely based on precision. So let's dive in. Thank you. If you guys like this kind of content, please don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell, share this with friends and family and whoever's perfect strangers. I think it's fascinating information. I just love this. So let's dive in. Here we go. So many people have said this is not possible, right? We go through a bulking phase. Typically how the bulking phase works is that you eat more than you should. You eat a lot, your calories go up, and you're eating more than your body really needs, hoping that whatever excess raw materials you have put into yourself will go towards building muscle. And some of it does, but some of it doesn't go towards building muscle. What happens to the excess? Well, at the end of this bulking season, what happens is that, you end up, you're bigger, but you end up looking kind of fluffy, and your fat percentage goes up, and then now we have to clean all of that up and we go through what's called a shred or a cutting phase. So during the cutting phase, what you do typically is go into a calorie deficit, and oftentimes it's become more and more popular to go into a carbohydrate deficit as well, along with high amounts of cardio, and you end up, losing fat, cleaning up that fat that you put on. And at the same time, unfortunately, a lot of times you end up losing muscle as well. And during that phase, depending on how intense it is, your shredding phase or your cutting phase can have such a caloric deficit that you don't even have enough energy to really get in a good workout, and then you end up with this kind of flat, sunken in look, that isn't always great either. So at the end of that, you're like, oh my God, I need to bulk again. I need to put on some more size. So it's just this constant back and forth and this yearly cyclical thing that in the fitness industry, this is what we do to ourselves, when there is a better way, but it does take precision. There is a science and a way to get to that. So that's basically what I want to talk about today. There's a balance between these two phases, and here it is. So first, to back up a little bit, I always like to zoom out. What we're really looking at here, and you guys have heard me talk about fitness and meeting your goals and performance, kind of like a three-legged bar stool. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but in kind of a different way. Uh, so just to give you my background, with my background, you'll kind of get a sense as to my thought process. I am a biologist. I'm a research scientist. I'm a clinical practitioner. I'm a PA. I have my master's degree in medicine. I've worked in all different fields of medicine. I'm a tinkerer. I love working on things, and that is how my brain works. Okay. And on top of that, I'm probably the biggest geek you'll ever meet when it comes to this kind of stuff. I really love it. Have you guys ever heard of the Cartesian coordinate system? So I'm sure you have, you but just might not know that it's called that. So the Cartesian coordinate system is it starts out with the X and Y axis. So we remember that from school. There's an X axis goes this way and the Y axis goes this way. I'll try and put some pictures up on the screen. There's also, when we talk about three-dimensional coordinate systems, there's a Z axis, right? So three-dimensionally, there's the X axis, Y axis, and Z axis. They're all perpendicular to one another. So they form this really cool picture. I'll put it. So so the difference, basically, here's a more realistic way to look at this. The difference between a printer, a regular paper printer, and a 3D printer is that a 3D printer prints on the Z axis in addition to the X and Y axis. That's how we get three-dimensionality, right? And that's basically it. So the precision is a must. Like a printer has to be precise. If it's not, we can't see or the pictures or the words or whatever. Same thing with a 3D printer. Oh my God, that looks exactly like the real thing. Well, of course, because the precision is there. So same thing applies to the human body in this sense, okay? So what is the x-axis? Let's go through the different coordinates. The x-axis, that is what I like to call your activity, okay? I specifically call it activity because it could be a lot of things. For some people, it's cycling or it's running or it's, swimming or lifting weights or powerlifting and body sculpting. There's all different forms, calisthenics, there's all different forms of activity. And all of it, in order to really get precise, we have to look at all of it. Do you have a sedentary job? Are you, do you have a physical job? How many steps are you getting in per day? And that's a very, very big part of your x-axis. That is essentially your blueprint. This is where it all starts, okay? So the x-axis has to be as much of a constant as you can make it, okay? So that has to be standardized. So what do I mean by that in real life? Well, when we talk about performance and workout plans and how to arrange this, you get started with a workout plan and you do not deviate from that. And that includes your intensity, okay? So if you have this as a standard, your intensity level, the types of workouts that you're doing, how much you're putting in, then that if anything happens to your workouts, if one day you wake up and you feel kind of, flat, or you feel like unmotivated to do it, or you're like you don't have the energy to get through the workouts, your strength is going down, then something's off with your coordinate system. Something's not right. So we use that standardized x-axis to almost like a metric system or a dial, or like a metric system to evaluate how we're doing. Okay, so we keep that standard. That's one less variable that we have to worry about. So that is your x-axis. The y-axis is your metabolism. So when I say metabolism in this sense, I'm talking about the food that you're taking in, how your body processes the food, what your body wants to do with the food, and how often you're giving your body the food, like the entire process beginning to end. And because that's very, very important. You can be taking in 3,500 calories, which is kind of a lot, but if your body doesn't want to do anything with those calories, then, your body is more likely to hold on to fat than someone else, then how you distribute those calories, the macros that you're using, all of that goes into this, the y-axis. Very, very critical. And everybody's very different. So how do we evaluate that? Well, this is where, through all of this, I recommend that you go to a medical practitioner that understands the complexity of each of these parts that I'm talking about. If they don't really grasp and they don't have the time or the energy to go through the complexities of these segments, all of them, then you're never going to hit the bullseye. Like it's just, or if you do, it's just dumb luck, like really, like, and I don't really rely on luck. So very, very critical in order to understand all these things. You need to be walked through with an actual medical practitioner that really gets this and is invested in you and is willing to give you the time and energy that you deserve. Because fooling with these things just on your own, kind of backyard, mechanicking these things, you can end up hurting yourself. You can end up decreasing your health, your longevity, And, if you really are thinking that that's your plan, then like that kind of defeats the purpose. It really does, in my opinion. So, so that's the y-axis. That's your metabolism. That's, what your body wants to do with the food that you eat. That plays a very, very important role in all of this and in what we're doing, right? So the third axis, that is your z-axis. The z-axis is your anabolic character. Okay. So your anabolic character has a lot to do with your hormones, specifically your anabolic hormones and others that put your body in the mood to want to do these things, to want to build muscle, build the lean muscle and everything. Like that's very, very critical, and it's separate from the food that you eat, very separate. A lot of times we conflate these three axes, well, just eat more and you'll put on muscle. Well, not necessarily. There's a lot of people that eat a lot that aren't adding any muscle, so how do we tap into that? How do we tap into it with precision? Because that's really what we're after. I've been doing medical management for professional bodybuilders and fitness models for over a decade now. And we live in the upper 1.5% of performance, of body performance for that person. Like that is where I live and breathe and day in and day out, so that cannot be achieved without precision and data. So we look at labs. It's very, very critical. We go through your lifestyle and what you're doing with a fine-tooth comb. And then we base all of this in a three-dimensional model of your X, Y, and Z axis, and we figure out where your origin is. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And then how do we get from one point to another? If with that three-dimensional coordinate system based, it's like GPS. It's just a straight path, and okay, we need to adjust this, this, and this. And as we go along, we can see how your body responds to what we're doing and know that if we need to turn left or right or go up or down, like with each variable, and then we can get there, so it is a bullseye that can be hit. I'm very excited to be able to begin to share some of these things with you, but like I said, it's so, so important to work with a clinician, an actual medical clinician who has studied human health. Like human health is incredibly critical. I would not be able to do what I do effectively if I didn't first understand the basics, baseline human health. And that's very, very important with any person that you work with on your performance. If I can't even begin to tell you, like if all of my patients, and I'll just put it out there, all of my patients are healthy. Like that, no one in my clinic gets a green participation ribbon for being healthy. Like that's baseline, bare minimum. So if I don't know how to at least achieve bare minimum health, and maintain that, then what am I doing playing around with performance? It's not tenable. So, very, very critical. Work with someone that is a clinician, a medical clinician. Talk to someone, get a good consultation and understanding as to how these things work. And then as we continue to work along, we begin developing layers and layers of understanding as to how your body works, and things get more and more and more dialed in and more precise. So I love this stuff. I'm very, very passionate about it. If I didn't do this for a living, I'd be talking about it all the time anyway. So thank you guys so much for watching my channel. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. If there's other things that you want to tell me about or talk to me about, please hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much, and stay healthy.